Story 1. Shadows in the Attic. I never believed in ghosts, at least not until I inherited my grandmother's old house. Nestled at the edge of a fog-laden forest, this creaky Victorian relic had been the backdrop of my childhood summers, filled with laughter and exploration. But now, as a 30-year-old navigating the complexities of adult life, this house felt more like a test of sanity than a warm refuge. The first few days were uneventful, characterized by the musty smell of old books and the eerie silence of its long-abandoned halls. Then I began hearing whispers, faint, indistinct murmurs that seemed to emanate from the attic. At first, I shrugged them off as tricks played by my stressed mind, but night after night, the whispers grew louder, persistent, like a predator stalking its prey. Despite my best efforts to ignore them, the whispers started to disrupt my sleep, leaving me exhausted and irritable during the day. My mind, once sharp and clear, felt muddled and heavy. Even simple tasks became insurmountable obstacles. One particularly gloomy afternoon, while washing up in the bathroom, I noticed movement in the mirror's reflection. A shadow darted across the hallway behind me. My heart quickened as I spun around, only to find the long corridor empty. Each day, the house seemed to decay further, its very essence wilting under the weight of some unseen force. The pipes groaned ominously at night, and the walls creaked with ancient, unsettling intent. Determined to solve the mystery of the whispers, I mustered the courage to ascend the narrow staircase leading to the attic. A single, flickering bulb cast long shadows across the room as I opened the door. Dust motes danced eerily in the pale light, reminding me of trapped souls. Among the relics of my grandmother's past, I discovered an old, battered journal. Its pages were yellowed with age, ink smeared from years of neglect. The words inside spoke of strange occurrences, of ghostly apparitions and sinister entities lurking in the shadows. My grandmother had suffered alone, fighting battles unseen by the rest of the world. As I delved deeper into her writings, I uncovered a chilling truth. My grandmother had made a pact with something dark, something otherworldly. In exchange for prosperity and protection, she allowed this entity to tether itself to our family lineage, its whispers slowly driving those who heard them to madness. That night, the whispers were not just whispers. They morphed into malevolent chants, a cacophony of voices urging me to fulfill the pact. Shadows moved more purposefully now, creeping closer with each passing hour. Desperation clawed at the edges of my sanity. I had to find a way to break the cycle, to banish the darkness that had plagued my family for generations. The journal hinted at a ritual, a dangerous but potentially liberating spell. With trembling hands, I gathered the necessary items: candles, salt, and an old trinket that had belonged to my grandmother. As I performed the ritual, the house shook violently, rattling windows and doors. The shadows coalesced into a fearsome apparition, its form shifting and indeterminate. It lunged at me, but with each word I spoke it recoiled, its eerie visage distorting in agony. As the ritual reached its climax, the attic filled with blinding light. The entity, now shrieking in anguish, began to dissipate, unraveling into nothingness. The whispers faded, replaced by a profound silence that felt like a long-forgotten gift. Exhausted, I collapsed onto the wooden floorboards, my body aching but my spirit unburdened. The oppressive atmosphere lifted, and for the first time since I arrived, the house felt like a home, a sanctuary rather than a prison. Though the pact was broken, the scars of its influence lingered. The whispers were gone, but their memory remained, a chilling reminder of the shadows that lurk just beyond the edge of our perception. Story 2. The Forgotten Highway. It started as an ordinary road trip. My best friend Carlos and I had spent a weekend camping in the mountains, seeking solace from our routine lives. The journey back was long, with endless stretches of highway leading us through barren landscapes. It was during a quiet moment, just as dusk descended, that Carlos noticed the detour. A narrow, unpaved road branched off the main route. The sign read, Old Hollow Road. Intrigued and craving adventure, we decided to explore this forgotten path. As we ventured deeper, the trees grew denser, their branches weaving a canopy that blocked out the fading light. The air became thick with an unsettling energy, a palpable tension that made my skin crawl. The road led us to a small, dilapidated town, a place seemingly frozen in time. Its buildings were weathered and worn, windows shattered, doors hanging off their hinges. There was no sign of life, only the eerie silence that clung to us like a suffocating fog. Carlos suggested we spend the night there, citing the late hour and the road's hazardous condition. Reluctantly, I agreed, though unease gnawed at me. We parked the car near what once might have been a town square and decided to explore. Our footsteps echoed through the vacant streets as we moved from building to building. Inside, we found remnants of lives abruptly halted, dusty furniture, forgotten toys, and family photos yellowed with time. Nightfall brought with it a chilling wind that howled through the streets, setting the town's decay into a mournful symphony. We chose an old general store as our shelter, lighting a small fire to ward off the cold. As midnight approached, we heard it, the distant sound of footsteps, followed by faint whispers carried by the wind. Fear clawed at my insides as we huddled closer to the fire, straining to make sense of the fragmented voices. They grew louder, more insistent, as if surrounding us. Panic set in, and Carlos grabbed my arm, suggesting we leave immediately. Just as we stood to gather our things, a figure appeared in the doorway, a gaunt, shadowy silhouette bathed in moonlight. The figure did not move, and we remained frozen, hearts pounding in our chests. Then, more silhouettes emerged, forming a silent audience just beyond the threshold. Their presence felt like an ancient, ominous ritual, an assembly of watchers scrutinizing our every move. Carlos and I exchanged a look of sheer terror, instinctively stepping backward, away from the impending menace. Yet, against logic, a part of me felt drawn to them, compelled by a dark curiosity. The whispers intensified, and I realized they were not mere sounds, but a language, incomprehensible, yet filled with intent. One word stood out, repeated in a haunting chant: belong. Suddenly, as if answering an unspoken command, the watchers parted, revealing a pathway leading to the center of town. Against my better judgment, I felt compelled to follow, as if some unseen force puppeteered my actions. Driven by instinct, or perhaps madness, Carlos and I found ourselves in an open area, surrounded by the hooded figures. In the center lay an ancient stone altar, its surface etched with arcane symbols. As we approached, the night air thickened, pulsating with energy. I understood then that the town wasn't abandoned out of neglect, but forsaken by choice, a sacrifice left as tribute to the Watchers. Determination resourceful as dread propelled us into action. We retreated, each step a battle against the malevolent pull of the Watchers. The whispers now demanded obedience, their persistent chant an insidious melody that echoed in my mind. We sprinted back to the car, the Watchers gliding silently behind us. The engine roared to life as we sped down Old Hollow Road, the town disappearing into the rearview mirror. The whispers faded, replaced by the rhythmic thud of our pounding hearts. When we finally reached the main highway, the oppressive atmosphere lifted, leaving us breathless but alive. We never spoke of that night again, choosing to bury the memory of Old Hollow and the Watchers with it. But I knew, deep down, that the road still existed, and the Watchers continued their eternal vigil, waiting for the next soul to wander into their forgotten domain. Story 3: The Keeper of Silent Hill. Silent Hill was a place spoken of only in hushed tones, a town shrouded in mystery and perpetual fog. Legends told of its keeper, a being that guarded its forgotten history and secrets. None who ventured there had returned to speak of it. For years the town drew me in, an ever-present whisper beneath the fabric of my life. And so, driven by curiosity and a desire to uncover the truth, I set out to find Silent Hill. Navigating through the twisted back roads, I finally reached the town's entrance. The fog was dense here, thicker than I'd ever seen, clinging to the landscape with an ethereal quality. As I walked down the desolate streets, the silence was overwhelming, an oppressive blanket of nothingness that pressed against my senses. Buildings loomed like sentinels, their windows dark and lifeless. The air was thick with anticipation, every shadow concealing potential danger. I had the distinct feeling of being watched, though by whom or what I couldn't tell. I followed a winding path that led to the heart of Silent Hill. The fog parted ever so slightly, revealing an ancient cathedral, its spires piercing the sky. Here, the air thrummed with a palpable energy that sent shivers down my spine. As I pushed open the cathedral doors, a deafening silence greeted me. Dust-covered pews stretched into the distance, and at the altar stood the keeper. It was a tall figure, draped in a tattered cloak, its face obscured by shadows. The keeper made no move to acknowledge my presence, yet its aura commanded attention. I felt drawn to it, compelled to seek answers to the mysteries that plagued Silent Hill. With each step closer, the air grew colder, the veil of reality thinning. I reached the altar, where the keeper finally turned its gaze upon me. Its eyes, though hidden, were like a void, pulling me into memories not my own. Visions flooded my mind, flashes of the town's vibrant past, its tragedy, and the darkness that befell it. I saw the keeper's role, destined to guard Silent Hill's forgotten sorrows, a solemn witness to time's passage. The truth was a heavy burden, one I hadn't anticipated. The town was a purgatory, its inhabitants trapped between worlds, the keeper tethered by duty. As the vision subsided, the keeper offered me a choice: join its ranks, become a guardian of Silent Hill's secret, or leave and never return. The decision weighed heavily on my heart. The lure of knowledge and power tempted me, yet the thought of eternal isolation repelled me. In that moment, I understood the keeper's burden, its loneliness and desire for freedom. To break the cycle, someone had to remain, to preserve the balance between worlds. I chose to walk away, to return to the world beyond Silent Hill. As I turned, the keeper's silent acknowledgement followed, a gesture of gratitude and farewell. Exiting the cathedral, the fog seemed less oppressive, more like a protective shroud than a prison. I knew I could never entirely escape the town's call, its whispers forever etched in my soul. Silent Hill faded into the background as I made my way back, its secrets safe and the keeper's legacy intact. Though I had escaped its grip, I knew I would never forget the price of knowledge and the weight of its silent guardianship.